Ultrasound in the medical profession can show us what is inside the body, for example, a kidney stone or a baby. The waves of the earthquake also can show us what is inside the earth. We pick these waves, we time them. The time between each wave can help us, by the speed of the arrival, measure the distance and then build a picture. Very fine one, means a lot of earthquakes with the earthquake stations. A coarser one like this one is the one that we use, and we use a few stations to measure the distance and build a 3D model. You can see here the depiction of the depth and the location, longitude and latitude. For the Reykjanes Peninsula, around the Grindavík to the Blue Lagoon, we can see the Grindavík. I can show you that's the surface. You can see under the Grindavík, we don't have many earthquakes. The most at the depth of 5 kilometers. That's where most of the tectonic earthquakes happen. But the ones that rise to the shallower depth are the ones that can open up the way for the magma to rise. Under the Grindavík we don't have, but north of the Grindavík at the Hagafell we have a lot of those little circles, and at the Blue Lagoon we don't have much, but to the east of it, where the Sundunga craters are, we have some of these shallow depth earthquakes. I'll show you again after this again, so you can see it carefully. We use this to put the possible locations of the future earthquake, future eruptions on the map of that area. As you can see, now again I'll show you again. This is the Grindavík. You can see to the right, under it we don't have, but just to the slightly to the left of it, we have that Hagafell area that the little earthquakes are rising to a shallower depth. At the depth of 5 kilometers, of the tectonic earthquakes, for example, what we have in the Clare Forward is actually rising a little bit, so maybe the magma will erupt in that crystalline volcanic system near it. In the Blue Lagoon, we don't have any of those effects. Blue Lagoon is relatively a safe place. At Svartsengi, we have slightly a hill toward the east of it, which will happen something there. So I'll mark the first point of the eruption, Hagafell, then slightly to the north of it, another, and then to the south of it also we may have another eruption. The likelihood of these ones, I'll show them again, and the one that is inside the wall of the Svartsengi is the least likely, and the one toward the sea also, south of the Grindavík. I show them again to you. You can look at them. First most likely place is the Hagafell, where I have north of the Hagafell. Then south of it, slightly to the north of it, they have the very similar probability. Then the Svartsengi one, and the least likely to see actually, because in the sea is the one that is happening south of the Grindavík, inside the sea. I mark them here, sequence. This is the Hagafell. I think this is the most likely place. Then the second likely place is toward the Grindavík, but not reaching the Grindavík. We have a wall there, and the lava stops also, solidified lava. Then we have near the Sundunga another one, number 3. Number 4 is inside the walls of the Svartsengi. Probably that can be a risk, is less likely, but the one near the sea is less likely to be seen. We will not see it even if it happens. So when the earthquakes open the pathway, the Svartsengi area has swollen because of the accumulation of the magma. There is not much ways for it to erupt from that location. So the land rise happens there. Our GPS data will pick it up. The land is rising every day, probably a few millimeters up to a centimeter. And then through a seal, which is a horizontal leakage of the lava, it leads it to the dike toward the Sundunga, Hagafell, Grindavík, and all those areas. We call it magma tunnel, as if. And that dike is where the magma erupts as a volcano that we have seen. So this eruption, it happens most likely in the Hagafell area, slightly to the south, which will flow, and also slightly toward the east, northeast. And that is where the likely path will be. Some of it will go toward the north, but most of it will be toward the south. Something like the eruption of the Hagafell, which happened in January. This is the MBL live camera that you can see. The moment of the eruption beautiful eruption, bang in the darkness, like the supernova in the sky, as if. And then we had the eruption started, the smoke and all kind of gases rising, vapors, I should say, rise into the sky. This will be happening soon in that area. Everything is ready for the eruption. We know roughly where it's going to happen.